Hi, I'm Ray Brunellen, the founder of the Natural Health Clinic. What if your depression didn't actually start in your brain at all? We're going to talk about that right after this, so please stay tuned. So, what if your depression didn't start in your brain? What if it didn't have to do with your brain at all? What if this entire time you've been completely misled? What if, in fact, the root cause was hiding entirely somewhere else? Maybe being completely missed by any labs or any other kind of testing you've ever done. So let's start with the myth, shall we? I have no doubt you've heard many times, probably from your physician, from friends, from the television, probably not magazines anymore, certainly from the internet. Maybe ChatGPT had a conversation with you and said the same thing. But I'm sure you've heard that depression is caused by some kind of chemical that's imbalanced in your brain, right? So you're likely told that it's serotonin, that's one of the most common ones, and that serotonin is low and that makes you feel in this depressed mood, and so you need to take this SSRI and that's going to help the whole situation. You're going to feel fantastic. Isn't that how they tell you to fix it? But let me tell you the truth, perhaps something you haven't heard before. And that theory that I just went over, did you know that theory has never been proven? Not at all. And in fact, some studies show that people who are depressed have completely normal levels of serotonin and sometimes even elevated. Dr. Peter Goetz, he is a medical doctor who has written extensively on this entire subject, has many different books. Do you know what he calls SSRIs, the commonly prescribed medication for depression, for serotonin? He calls them a glorified placebo. He doesn't think they do anything at all. But that's not true. Consider the side effects. Sexual dysfunction, worsen depression. Isn't that great? Taking you for depression, worsen depression. Weight gain, of course. And then just emotional flatlining. I've seen a lot of people go through that, is that once they take these medications, they just don't feel anything at all. Well, that's fantastic. Let's just live life like that, not having any experiences at all, right? So that begs the question, if serotonin's not the problem, well then what is? Well, hell if I know. Now let's go over it. I'm going to tell you. So it turns out that actually the gut makes over 90% of the body's, your entire system's serotonin levels, 90%. And it also makes oxytocin, which you may know as the mother-child bonding hormone, the anti-stress hormone. Now, here's the real kicker. There is a literal highway between your gut and your brain. And there's constant communication along that highway. And you know what else? 80% of the communication is from the gut to the brain. Only 20% comes from the brain. Basically, the brain just hangs out and monitors the communication from the gut and other organ systems as well. But in this case, we're focusing on the gut. So guess what? If your gut becomes inflamed, what do you think is going to happen? What if it's your gut's missing some key microorganism, or what if there is elevated amounts of detrimental organisms? Plain words effective. What if the gut's stressed out? What if it's chronically inflamed from processed foods and different kinds of toxins and all kinds of things? Well, what do you think is going to happen then? Well, what it's going to do is it's going to send a message in that highway from here to the brain saying, hey, something's not right here. We got a few potholes. We got construction signs going on all over the place. There's a road hazard here. we got a problem. That's what exactly it's going to do. So that message, once it goes from the gut to the brain, well, that's going to create fatigue, feelings of low motivation, anxiety, and yes, of course, depression. So how do you find out if this is happening? What do you do? Well, that's where the lab that I'm highly recommending for all of my clients, and all my new clients actually automatically get this lab. It's called the MVX Plus lab. What it does is it actually helps us to find out what's happening within your body. It's a blood test, but it's not like any other blood test that you've had. The MVX looks at inflammation and metabolic stress in a way that predicts your risk of mortality, basically your overall health risk, in the next decade. There are 3 main scores that it's looking at, and there's several different markers within the blood that help these scores become acquired. So the first score is the MVX score. That is your overall body's stress load. So if you're scoring very low, that's good. All right. If you're scoring very high, that's serious challenges ahead, something that really needs to be taken a look at. The next score, is IVX. What the IVX is how inflamed your entire system actually is. And finally, the MMX is asking some questions of the body. Are you getting the right fuel? Maybe you are getting the right fuel, which means maybe you're eating correctly, but are your cells actually able to metabolize that food correctly? Or are your cells actually starving? That is the MMX score. Now, many clients score high in IVX and MMX, while all their other routine labs are perfectly normal. Their physician says, oh, it's all in your head. Here's an SSRI. All right? So your depression, it's got to be in your head. Everything's perfectly normal, so therefore, you know, the medical gold standard is prescribing SSRIs. So this MVX then, it starts helping us to connect all the dots together. And now, what if you not only saw what was happening within the blood picture and the causative factors there, but also what if you could see what your food, your stress levels, your sleep, how that was also affecting your body hour by hour, day by day. That's where Thea Health CGMs come into play. So depending on how a person scores within this lab, one of the things we may use is Thea Health and continuous glucose monitors. So these sensors track your blood sugar in real time, 24/7, because blood sugar instability is a huge driver of all the things we've been talking about: inflammation, anxiety, brain fog, mood swings, and yes, depression. So the way it works is you wear a very small sensor on your upper arm, and that sensor